looks like a man. Well, no, that lamb just moved on that stand. I got movement in the cellars, I got footsteps in the hall. There's no time to waste, I better make some calls. I gotta get ready, make everything right, 'cause all my rowdy friends are goes hunting tonight. Hey, round up the team, let's get started. Hey, this is Brother Mine. There's a party and you're invited. We got the camera set, let's turn off these lights, 'cause all my rowdy friends are goes hunting tonight. This old house has a long history. It should be real, real good for activity. And we got the house wired for sound and got motion alarms setting all around. Got a box full of batteries ready to go, and everyone's itching to start this show. Got our logo tees, driving black SUVs, and that one bald guy with a slick goatee. Hey, round up the team. Let's get started. Hey, this is Brother Mine. Well, there's a party and you're invited. We got the camera set, let's turn off these lights, 'cause all my rowdy friends are goes hunting tonight. Hey, round up the team. Let's get started. Hey, this is your big brother Michael. There's a party and you're invited. We got the camera set, let's turn off these lights, 'cause all my rowdy friends are goes hunting tonight. That's right. Go get 'em, boys.
And welcome everybody to PEMA TV.
Welcome to November 30th, 2012. 1 month left. One month and 1 day.
That's right. We've actually only got like 22 days.
Yeah.
Till Mayageddon. Please click on the banner below. Go buy your tickets. Gonna be a party.
I'm going shopping.
Yeah. And then when we wake up Friday, it'll all be okay. Just hungover. Lots of new shows. Lots of schedule changes happening. I've tried to post it as much all over Facebook as I can. I spam enough on Facebook now to where I'm almost hated. So I try not to do too much, but we do have some major schedule changes. We have basically four new shows coming, because 2 of our shows are changing their formats and going from being all pre-recorded to being live.
Okay, that's 5.
Yeah. Torch Paranormal out here in Texas near the Colony. They're going to go start on Sunday nights in a week or so. You've got Paranormal Minds coming on Tuesday. Tim Rancorn is moving to Tuesday and going to a live version of this show. The Slab with Randy Ivy and Tenor Tens. They will be coming Thursday. This coming Thursday. It's going to be a lot of stuff going on. Just be sure and check the schedule on Facebook. If you want to be a stalker, practice your skills on us here at the network. Click on all the social media buttons there below the chat room.
And be sure to watch the Mistresses of Mondays.
And the Mistresses of Mondays, they rock. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Okay, folks. Tonight, we have a very special guest.
But first, we need to put a few things out there. Please continue to send prayers to Tim Yancey, who's still in the hospital, and to Lorraine Warren.
And prayers and good wishes to the Harris family with their dealing with their loss of Sarah. Me and Mr. Stephen LaChance talked about that a little bit last night. We can't stress how important it is for everybody to be careful when you're investigating.
Yeah. But hang in there. Things are getting crazy. Just because the holidays are coming up doesn't mean we're not going to be here. We've still got stuff going on constantly and continuously. So check the schedules, check the nights, check the Mistresses of Monday.
And be looking for the Lower Catskill Paracon. That'll be coming your way
soon.
That's all I'm saying about that. That's just all I'm saying.
That's all we're going to give you right now. It's a teaser.
Okay, folks. Tonight we are joined by a very good friend of ours, Miss Latrina Brown. Latrina, are you with us?
I'm here. And please call me Lee. My name is too much work. Just call me Lee.
Okay, Lee. You are part of actually 2 different paranormal groups, am I correct?
That is correct.
Part of PROS, which is Paranormal Research of the Southeast, and
That's right.
part of Family Spirit, and I can only assume that Family Spirit consists of you and your family members.
That's right.
Okay.
It actually existed first. My great-grandmother was a paranormal investigator, and she passed it down through the generations. Her workbook included basically her Bible and what she was taught through the generations, being a Native American. And she had a few notebooks, but mostly just her Bible, and she wrote in her Bible. And I have all of her notes, and so I'm working with my mother and my grandmother. We're writing a book about her and some of the stories and case studies that she actually left us. And we're trying to go through all of hers. My grandmother, who lives with me, she's 87 and still does investigations. And she is the bomb. She's an amazing lady. She suffered a heart attack not long ago, but she has no damage to her heart.
Awesome.
She went back to work recently, and as beautiful as ever. And when I grow up, I want to be just like her.
Well, what actually is it? Was it just the family influence that got you started?
Yeah. Well, I think that I should say the fact that I can see spirits, and I do have energy sight, is what I call it, as well as a certain amount of hearing. And my grandmother and my mother, and so, dealing with the gifts that have run in my family for generations, and my children have them as well. I guess it was just a way of learning to deal with what the Lord, how the Lord, made us. And so in a way it was just how we were created.
Right.
And then we decided to just go ahead and become a group. People started getting more interested in the paranormal. There were more shows. Things started coming more in the open. My grandmother was called every time something odd happened, and my great-grandmother. My mother was called as a child to pray for people when they were sick. She has the ability to do a lot of healing prayers. And so, there's a lot of teaching going on in the household. And so we decided to put it all together, and then people started coming to us when we started doing investigation. I sort of came out about it, and more people wanted to learn. And I thought, my goodness, it's about time. We started opening the doors, and we have really blossomed lately. I've got 3 satellite groups in 3 different states. So we're really enjoying ourselves.
Well, I don't think you'll mind people knowing this. You're located in South Carolina.
Right. That's right.
Once again, I happened to interview Stephen LaChance, who lives in Myrtle Beach now. And like he was saying, like you are lucky enough to be surrounded by literally hundreds, if not thousands, of historic locations now.
Oh gosh, everywhere we go. I went to a conference in Myrtle Beach, and the hotel was haunted.
Yeah.
So while I was doing the conference, I was in my room doing investigations after the conference. Going through the hotel. I didn't know when to sleep because, it was either do an investigation, go downstairs, do the conference. We're surrounded by history and by paranormal spirits everywhere in the Southeast. And people that are willing to allow us to investigate. I recently investigated the entire downtown of a small town, which, if you could picture Mayberry from Andy Griffith, imagine the entire Chamber of Commerce greeting us with snacks and punch and everything, and then telling us all of their experiences and opening 5 of their stores and hotels and opera house and allowing us free reign. And everything was haunted. It was awesome. So I'm so excited about the things we found.
Well, that's kind of similar to what we were running into you guys were running into in Lebanon, Tennessee.
Yeah. We've run some ugly stuff lately too. I'm not sure where that's coming from. Well, actually, I do. There's actually a satanic church not far from us that has a huge membership, and we've been doing a lot of cleanup from that. I've joined a demonology group, and I have really been very busy with that. I have had some experiences that I never thought I would have. So it's been eventful, and I'm very thankful for every experience I've had. Well,
a lot of your I don't want to say your faith, but a lot of your practices. Do you use any Native American practices for protection?
Yes, most of them. I am Cherokee Indian, and Cherokees actually prophesied there would be a Messiah. So when the missionaries came and discussed with them and talked with them about, Christ, it was very easy for them to accept those principles. So it works hand in hand. And so, it's a combination. I believe that God has given us the ability to heal ourselves, that for every disease He has given us a cure. It's just a matter of our claiming that. We have the ability to control the energy in our body as well as the energy around us through positive affirmations, and that we can heal our friends, we can heal our family. I don't believe that there's a such thing as the fountain of youth or anything. I mean, when it's our time, it's God's will. But I do believe that there's nature energy. There's I do believe that there's the energy of spirits, energy of animals and elementals, things like that. I have a lot of experience dealing with that. I have a lot of animal spirit footage. I've dealt a lot of I've given a lot of my footage to Barry Fitzgerald for some of the research that he has been doing. So a lot of the things that he does in Ireland is a lot like what I do here. This summer I did a large study on the reservation about there's a being called Little People, which is very similar to like a leprechaun, but they can be in spirit form or in physical form. And this is actually crossing into more of cryptozoology. But anyway, we actually caught some footage about that. My father was a herpetologist and mammologist, very similar to what Steve Irwin was. And I spent many weeks in the swamps with my dad with nothing but a pocket knife and a flask of water and what we could catch and that kind of thing, survivalist style. So I combine the two. We spend weeks in the woods camping and in nature, seeing what we can find. It's a wonderful way to reconnect with nature and with ourselves, and you can hear God speak to you a lot stronger when you're listening and you're quiet. I'm actually working on a series right now called Sacred Spirit, and Sacred Spirit is basically a walk in Native American shamanism. I am a Reiki master, and I've studied Qigong as well. And so I'm taking both a Native American Studies as well as my Reiki master training, which I've studied through an Indian hospital that's nothing but energy study and energy work with healing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm taking that and blending it together with a Native American shamanism, and I'm going to discuss what totems are and how to do crystal work, hands-on healing, and herbology, things like that. Basically, how to get down to being more of a brother and a sister to your neighbor and your friends, and living a more simple life compared to it's all about me and keeping up with the Joneses type thing. I believe that has really put our country in a bind. I believe the reason why our national debt is what it is because we have grown too materialistic and we don't take care of each other. And so I believe this study is right on time, and I'm hoping that it'll reach people and it'll touch their hearts. It's my way of trying to give back and to pray for my friends and touch people.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily a paranormal thing as it is a spiritual thing, but it's a very old ancient teaching, and it's a blend, my own personal blend of many different teachings. But hopefully it'll be something that people will enjoy.
We actually have a bit in common. My Aunt Val is the one who really got me into the paranormal. She's 97 now.
Oh my gosh,
And
that's
still-
wonderful.
And still loves cemetery surfing.
Oh yeah, that's my grandma.
Because I'm
All
like,
pictures.
do you remember this old cemetery? We were there when we were little. You took me and Nancy and Philip and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, and they moved everybody. Oh, no, there's still a few there. We have to go.
I've got to tell you about one. We went to one, and there's like a tombstone there, and it said, hold on. It said, where I am now, so you must be. So prepare for death and follow me. And she turned and looked at me, and she said, to follow you, sir, I am not content until I know for sure which way you went.
Right.
I thought that was so funny. And I thought, oh, we should get a crayon and write that on there. But I said, we're not going to deface anything. But I just thought that was so perfect because, that seems so morbid.
I like the one that said, I like the one that always said, I told you I was sick. That was my favorite one.
I told you I was sick.
Well,
I think my tombstone will say she tried really hard. She was trying so hard. I just try, I don't always succeed, but I really put 100% into everything. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
My
Don't always get there.
tombstone's going to be one of those numbered
Take
machines.
a number.
Yeah, take a numbers.
Yeah.
But no, my Aunt Val, she just went into remission twice with bone cancer.
Yeah, she's. They don't make them like that generation no more.
She didn't get bone cancer until she was 91.
Good Lord.
Plus, I'm part Cherokee.
We have a lot in common, dear. Yeah, I
Well,
knew I liked you.
Pretty much, if you're the women in your family, darling, if they don't drink themselves to death, they live forever.
Absolutely.
Pretty much.
She's going to make it on the Smucker's jelly jar. You watch. She is. That's my goal in life. I'm going to make it on the back of that Smucker's jelly jar.
Yeah, for the 100. That and be on, what is it, today, or one of them that does the 100th birthday.
Today, yeah, it's today. The weather guy on today.
Well,
That's me.
so far, my great-grandma missed the Smucker's jar by one day. My Aunt Val is going to be 98 in January. Her sister lived to be 105.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, if you don't drink, you don't die in this family. You just keep going. So, Aunt Val's the next one for the Smucker's jar.
So hopefully we'll already be able to talk to the other side by the time she goes, probably. She might even have Jetson cars. That's all she wants. That's all I've heard for the last 2 weeks, is she wants a freaking Jetson car with the little circles that come off the tailpipe.
Well, yeah. But yeah, as far as I can ever remember back when my cousins came in from Houston, Aunt Val, first place she always took us was to a different cemetery. When family members pass away, she goes to that cemetery and she takes all kinds of pictures and then mails them to everybody. So, yeah,
my dad used to do that. My dad would go, and guess who I met in a cemetery with my dad? My dad, I told you he wrestled alligators for Tarzan movies, and so I would travel with him doing his shows, and we were in Asheville, North Carolina, and we went to this beautiful, very, I guess, Gothic-looking cemetery on the hill. Really had to go up to get to it. And so anyway, we're up there, and here's this beautiful woman, and she's all in black and this long black hair. And I just really wasn't sure that I could I wasn't sure I was seeing what I was seeing. It was Crystal Gale, and she actually does a little bit of paranormal investigation.
Yeah,
that's what she told us. Yeah,
she does.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of people in the Hollywood scene that actually do investigations. They just don't talk about it a lot. There is, as open-minded as California and Hollywood claims to be, there's still quite a stigma to a lot of things.
Yeah, but see, the only reason they don't talk about it is because they get to go into the really cool places, like Joan Crawford's mansion and stuff. Stuff will never be anywhere near.
Plus, we've met Kane and his brother and all those guys, and those guys are so big, ain't nobody going to tell them, if you think you can go do what you want to, sir. They're not going to argue with, a group of 5 guys that are all 6'3" or better. And
well, I'm just saying, like Crystal Gale, she's not going to say, get on Facebook and, hey, I'm going to go investigate Joan Crawford's mansion. Heck no. She's keeping that to herself. She's not going to share that stuff. Yeah. I want in there, but hey.
She has to.
I can tell you who is terrified of the paranormal, because he was friends with my dad, and we were all in the same hotel. Andre the Giant. Mm-hmm. He used to let me ride on his shoulders, and we'd go down the elevator together, and he'd bend his knees, and it would make my stomach wiggle. But he was terrified of the paranormal. My dad and Crystal Gale were talking about it. He would nope. He would take me, and he said, she doesn't need to hear this, and he'd walk away. I thought, Lord have mercy, as big as you are, and you're going to be scared of that. What are you doing?
That would be another place to investigate. Von Erich's house.
Yeah, there would be some creepy stuff going on there. Yeah. Yeah, that family they were iconic in the wrestling business, but there's some really twisted stuff that happened in that family. A lot of addiction, too.
I know, remember?
Oh, I know.
I went out with one of them for a little bit.
I know.
Who's that?
The Von Erichs.
The Von Erichs, Midwest, South, Midwest wrestling.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, Fritz, the old claw. Yeah. Actually, Kerry was the Ultimate Warrior. No, not the Ultimate Warrior. What was the Texas Tornado?
Yeah.
Or something. He made the WWE for a very little while, but he pretty much exploded his heart on cocaine a couple years after doing that. So.
Oh my God.
Yeah, there's some really, really bad stuff. There's like one son that
well, they had like 9 kids, 8, 7 of them were sons, and only one is alive right now.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah. There's a lot of famous people that would have some stuff like that go on around them. That'd be interesting to investigate around.
I know.
I want to do Graceland. That would be my ultimate, my dad knew Elvis, and I believe he's there. I really do. And so many people have said they've seen him. And God, I would love to see if I could, make contact.
Yeah. Well, I'm not so sure I'd want to talk to Elvis.
I don't know. I wouldn't do someone like, Chris Farley or someone's house.
Chris Farley, yeah. Cool.
So someone
That would be
who
fun.
had, you know, just the ultimate sense of humor, instead of, you know, all the you're going in and you're getting these EVPs of Get Out, you know, all this creepy stuff. I just want some smart aleck, you know, snippets.
There'll be a lot of whoopee cushion type EVP
Right.
there, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, or maybe John Belushi.
John Belushi would be cool.
Yeah, but he had the kind of creepy dark side.
Yeah, well, they all that's the thing, is they all have their creepy dark side.
Yeah, but Chris Farley.
Just don't get Sam Kinison.
How cool would it be?
Yeah.
How cool would it be to be at Chris Farley's and get the song "Fat Man in a Little Coat" as an EVP?
Well, that's true.
I mean, hello.
But you know, Sam Kinison was also a right reverend.
Was.
I mean, he stepped away from the cloth, but he had a spiritually, he was an interesting bird.
Yeah, he got struck by lightning.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with Marina in the chat room. Bless their hearts, and I think she means that in a southern way.
No, she said, but so kind, bless their hearts. She meant it in a nice way, in the northern way.
Okay.
See?
But yeah, I mean, this struggle through the paranormal that we all go through, I mean, I don't know, it's such a personal journey sometimes. Don't you think?
Mine's just to tell my mom, ha!
Yeah. Well, kind of the same.
I love it. I can't stop. It is a very personal journey for me, and I talk to people and show people what I learn, you know, because I want people to learn with me. But whether I, decide to be private about it or not, I won't stop. I can't stop. I mean, it's hard to drive at night because I see things and I can't tell if it's a spirit or not. You know, it can be very difficult.
Well, and just
not like that all the time, but it is sometimes.
Well, and just like with what's going on in recent history with the Sarah Harris, I mean, that's terrible. To actually lose someone, and all they were doing was, they were doing paranormal investigations, but they didn't physically protect themselves with some kind of breathing apparatus, and to get a lung infection and die of that, oh my goodness, I can't even begin to think how that family's doing.
You know, my husband lived in a home that was a Civil War hospital, and they decided to just tear it down, and they were going to build another house. And after they tore it down, his family was in construction, and they were tearing down some other houses as well. He was part of a team, and several of the men got really sick after they were tearing down all these old historic homes that were just really in bad shape. And they were tearing down the chimneys as well. And 3 men died before they figured out what it was. Mm-hmm. And it was parasites that, from the whatever bird droppings were in the chimney. Mm-hmm. And they were like 2 brothers. And it was 2 brothers, and the third one was about to die, but there were 3 men total. And it was parasites. So, we go in some places that are pretty rough. Yeah. And we put ourselves through some ugly stuff. And, whenever you're looking at the fact that we're in dust and mold and probably asbestos, mm-hmm. you also have to think about the fact that there's people that provoke.
That's right.
And there's some nasty spirits out there, and they put themselves in harm's way just for the evidence.
Well, that's the thing, too, with everything that's gone on Facebook, and I don't really want to get into that, but I do want to mention the fact that the one thing that sticks out in my mind about the whole situation is that they knew and didn't tell people that there was even a possibility of exposure to asbestos products or fibers.
Yeah. Oh my God!
I'm not so sure they ever made that a public knowledge. That's the one thing that scares me the most, especially with what the Harris family has gone through. That just highlights it. That if that's the kind of thing that was going on, I'm just saying. That's just my personal opinion.
No.
If locations know that there's a possibility and you make it known to somebody and they still sign the waiver and they still go in there, then it's on them.
It is on them, but that the waiver does not make it legal.
Right.
Well, the point being,
You're still liable.
The
Right.
point being, the place was shut down simply because of asbestos and them not mentioning it to so many people.
Mm-hmm. And even if that was just one of several reasons why they shut it down, the whole fact that you're not mentioning that to people, that's of that entire situation. That's the one thing that bothers me the most.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
we have several very good friends that are readers, and make their living giving people their spiritual knowledge. Okay.
Right.
Whenever they have a website, they still have to put a disclaimer that says this is for entertainment only. So it's still back off on you whether you want to believe them or not. They still have to put that legal disclaimer out there. So
Right, of course.
asking someplace to say that it's haunted or not, that's up for you to decide. I'm not going to get into all that. But making it unsafe, or even the possibility of being unsafe,
Or knowing it's unsafe and you're still allowing people in there without any type of warning.
that's right. And especially if
Well-
you hold a conference in there and you have people bringing small children into that environment. I mean, this is when it starts to get unmentionable, unconscionable to me, and I get really, I get a little agitated about all of it, because that to me is endangering the public. I'm not even talking about being a fraud or anything.
Let me tell you what we do with our group. Not just our family, but when we have the full Paranormal Pros. And I'm talking about all of our satellites together. When we have a big group. Like when we did we did an orphanage that had been abandoned. And there was a caretaker that was actually sexually abusing some of the girls. And they were covering them up. Covering up the fact, that the girls were getting pregnant. And there were a lot of babies that were born, and they were buried on the property. Okay? So it was a very negative place. We had all of our satellites there. And we had a team, and I have, including my husband, I have 5 men that are military, and 1 that is a combat medic, and then with the Navy, and then my husband is a combat lifesaver, and they go through the entire place before we ever step foot, and they do a complete safety walkthrough. Period. We have a fallback place, and that means if anything happens and we have to quote bug out, this is where we fall back to. End of story. And whenever we have the groups going in, we have our main command center, and we have our groups here and here so that they're not contaminating each other, because if the place is big enough, we can do that. But we have, the radios and that, and we have safety officers. And they're responsible also for saying if we have to get out, this is, get out and meet back. And they're trained in fire prevention, first aid, as well as like hazmat and things like that. And we have every kind of respirator and that kind of thing for everybody. We do not play.
Yeah. Well, you can't.
Period.
You can't.
And we have been in homes, like there's this one house we went to that it was in the woods, and it was, we didn't even know if the floor was going to be all right for us to walk in. The man had killed his whole family and killed himself. And the family had called us to see if the house was haunted. They actually wanted to tear it down and build another structure there, and they wanted to see what was going on there. And house is okay. I mean, it was haunted, but it's not going to be a problem. And we went through that place like crazy. Mm-hmm. And safety-wise, before we let anybody even step a foot in. And, of course, everybody signs a waiver. Our teammates sign a waiver. the people that we were investigating, for, they sign a waiver that they're not responsible for us. We're not responsible for them. You see what I'm saying? We have every way covered. But then we also have the safety measures covered. I mean, that's the only way to do it. And my husband came up with these measures, as well as the other military men. And now that's just the way it is. Now, I'm not even talking about when we're out in the woods. That's a whole other thing. We have shifts.
Yeah, but
There's always somebody watching.
But it's good that that your group has those protocols.
And if somebody else is not doing this and they're running a Paracon, something's wrong. And I don't care who it is that I'm talking about.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of quote unquote enthusiasts, and and God love them. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be a thrill seeker. But when you start putting yourself or other people in danger trying to do it, that's when you've got to draw the line. But there's a lot of people out there that don't do that. Ooh, it's a nifty old building. Let's go in. Oh, I'm not worried about that fuzzy stuff on that pipe up there.
Everybody thinks the biggest, concern is, I'm not afraid of the ghosts,
Well, Zach and them got rid of a demon. I can get rid of a demon too.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you something that happened to me with a demon. First of all, I was sitting in the living room with the team, and I was praying for the girl that owned the home, and the flashlight, I had put the flashlight on the mantle so that I could touch her. And the flashlight turned on in my face, rolled down the mantle and rolled back, trying to, distract me so that I couldn't pray for her. Okay, whatever. Didn't bother me. I was like, is that really the best? What are you doing? And then I thought, my God, what is that smell? I was thinking, she's got kittens. Did she really leave them in this environment and didn't change the litter box? It was like a baby diaper, diarrhea, ashtray. It was bad. Okay, it was really bad. And I was about to throw up. We were all like, my God, what is that? And then it would stop. Totally fresh air. Almost like roses. And then it would start again. And we're all looking for it. Where is that smell coming from? Couldn't find the litter box. And finally I said, are you doing that? And the K2 meter, of course, said, and the box, yes, the ghost box. And the ovulus was, do you like it? And I was like, oh my God. Okay, so you're going to stink us out, Well, I sat down in the chair, and one of the kittens came across the floor, being like drugged by its tail, and it got flung up in my lap. And the ovulus said, copper or brass, rod, blood, kill. And I knew that the young people that had stayed there had been doing some ceremonial things, and they believed that there had been a demon there, and they were trying to bind the demon to someone to give them power.
Mm-hmm.
And they had claimed that was a Wiccan principle, but actually it was a satanic principle. And they hadn't completed the ritual with a sacrifice, and so the demon was asking me to kill the kitten. And the cat was terrified. It was,
well, yeah.
And then I just held the cat, and I was just like, nobody's going to die tonight. I am not talking to you. I'm telling you, you need to leave. And, we finally got through it. I prayed, did all the prayers. I did the binding prayer. And I couldn't really get it to leave like I wanted to. So it hit me. This one idea hit me, and I decided to do this. We went outside, and I had a sage torch, and I went around the entire property, not just the house, but the entire property 7 times. And I called it the Jericho March. And we recited 250 scriptures as we were walking. and we sang about Jericho and the walls of Jericho. And then we yelled, and the walls of Jericho fell. I'm getting chills thinking about it. And then we walked back in the house, and I told them that it had to leave. And I said, you must leave. In the name of Jesus Christ, you are no longer allowed to stay here. You were invited here, but this house does not belong to them. This house was rented by them.
Right.
And it did leave.
So I can only guess that your group's not a huge fan of the Ouija board either, then.
No. It started with that. The whole thing started with the Ouija board.
It's funny how that happens.
Yeah, I don't play with them.
And the mirror, they had a mirror portal.
Of course, our friend Maureen in the chat room, she's egging us on. Did you have you guys? Is there anything specific to the region that you guys run into there that people would find unusual or strange, other than the fact that you live within 100 miles of a huge satanic church? Other than that little interesting tidbit, is there anything regional that you find in going on around there that you run into that you don't hear other people talking about a lot?
Well, let's see. I live within five miles of a Revolutionary War fort. And I keep running into little couples of ghosts that are afraid to cross over because they're afraid they're going to get separated if they cross over. So they're little love couples of ghosts all through our little neighborhood. It's so sweet, they're so precious. And they're terrified of cars and things like that, so, we spend time talking to them. And there's a lot of Native American spirits here. A lot of Native American spirits. We have a lot of hunting grounds, a lot of ceremonial grounds, a lot of burial grounds, If you go to my website, www.paranormalpros.com.
It's actually listed right above your head at the moment.
Okay, good. You will see, and also you can, if you find me on Facebook, Litriana T. Brown. My name is so unusual, there's nobody else out there like my name. You'll see that I am inside of a grave. And it was actually a Native American burial grave. Someone had defaced the grave. We were actually going to what we had been told was a children's grave yard. And that the children were there playing with toys and things like that. And once I got there, I knew right away that it wasn't a children's graveyard. Mm-hmm. It was a Native American graveyard. Native Americans during that time period, because it was a very, very old graveyard, the tombstones were sandstone. And it goes back to the 1700s and some areas 1600s. And they were exposed to a lot of very serious diseases, and they just couldn't fight them off. So, the whole area towards the back of that, it was overgrown with trees, coming up through the graves and stuff like that. It just hadn't been taken care of. It was just such an old place. And at nighttime, it's very dangerous to walk through it because, you couldn't see. There was no rhyme or reason to how things were buried. You couldn't see any pathways. Mm-hmm. There was nothing but a canopy of, trees and whatnot. So, you had to be very careful. But because of the rumors of the children playing with the toys, there were a lot of toys there, but also somebody had gone through and dug up this grave and taken the headstones and busted it down inside the grave. So there are just busted up headstones all down inside. And something came over me. Kim, something came over me. I don't know. Can you imagine the feeling I had? The disgrace. This woman, this was her sanctuary, her body. She had children. She had she had loved her husband with that body. She had held her grandchildren. You know what I mean? And that Native Americans stay earthbound for a number of centuries.
Yeah.
Sometimes they cross over, but they always come back to guide their family. You know that.
Well, we're always in someone's business, so might as well pick on our family.
Is it? That's right. So, I knew that she was nearby, or her family was, and there, here's our generation being represented like that, and it flew all over me. It just broke my heart. So, I decided, I don't know what came over me, but I got down in the grave. And, it wasn't mushy I didn't see, like, bones or anything. It wasn't like I was digging down in a hole. You know what I'm saying? It was hard red mud, and it had I'm not trying to be yucky or anything. It was solid, and I was standing on a tombstone that was busted down in the bottom. And I got down there and squatted down, and I told her, I just said, please do not judge our generation based off of the idiot that did this to your grave. This was not something that I would do or my family would do or anyone on my team. And I explained what we were there to do. We were there to study her and study, the people that were in the cemetery and to give reverence. Well, she was pretty mad at first that I was down in that grave. And you can see, I want you to see the picture if you can. You can see her hand on my foot. You can see that she's wrapped her hand around my foot at first. And then you can see that she's got her hand on the K2 meter. And then finally you can see her face across my face. She is between me and the cameraman. And you'll also be able to see another picture of somebody else taking the picture. So it's more than one camera that did this. Everything else is in focus. But me. Right. And it's a face over a face. Everything else about me is fine. But it's her. And over me. And I knew that she was telling me that she understood what I was saying. And the EVPs were in Cherokee. And there were a couple of words that were in English that were thank you and I understand. And there was one that said, like, you, my tribe. And when I looked up, about that time, the biggest member of my team, his name is Tim Scott. If he is an inch tall, he's 6'8", okay? He's a big dude. He's an Irishman, and he's like a 6'8", and he has this booming voice. And he said, Lee, you need to look up, Lee. And we saw full-body apparitions of like 6 or 7 areas all the way around us. And the whole team was taking these pictures. And I've got those pictures. I'm happy to show you. I don't have all of them posted. I need to get all of them from the whole team. And they got the EVPs to go with it. And about that time, it started to rain. And I said, well, I'm not going to leave until I know for sure that you forgive me. And forgive our generation for this happening to you. And I want to find a way to make this right. And I don't know what to do. And I don't think there's anything I can do. but will you forgive me? Us as a people. And I felt calm. And the K2 meter indicated yes. And everybody helped me get out of the hole, because by that time it was pouring rain and everything was slippery. And about that time, all the full body apparitions, it's like they kind of disappeared back into the woods. And the rain sort of stopped, and we got out of there. We got out of there.
Yeah, I couldn't do that. I can't walk on a grave. I spend the entire time ruining EVPs, apologizing for stepping on them.
Well, that's just it. We couldn't tell what we were on.
Well,
because
when you were down in it, though, yeah, no. Mm.
Well, I wanted to hold her, Kim. It was, I don't know what caused me to do it, but I could just picture a family member of mine. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I understand. It's just me personally.
I don't know that she was down there. I don't know. I think they took her out of there.
Well, even with the ones like St. Louis, where I'm from, where they're perfectly marked, you know exactly where everything is. If I accidentally get too close to a corner, I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. I have this thing about walking across them.
I don't do that either. But this was the worst cemetery as far as, the shape of it. You know what I'm saying? It was in terrible shape.
And you're going to run across a lot of slave graveyards back then that were more mass burial graves than individual plots too.
I would love to get in touch with like a historic society that would help us find ways to restore it.
Right. Well, that is one way that a lot of paranormal groups give back to the community. They'll find a small, I don't want to say run down, but neglected cemetery.
They just go in with mowers.
Yeah, they'll go in with weed eaters and mowers and everything, and they clean it up and straighten headstones to the best of their, straighten and repair to the best of their ability and their financial means.
And I don't, and if you're there during the day, I don't really think you need a lot of permission, because you're cleaning it up. It's not like you're trying to fix it, so I don't think anybody would have a problem with it.
Right. But
I'm not even sure that I could get a wheelbarrow back there.
Yeah.
That's how bad it is.
That's when you have someone with a chainsaw come with you and just start cleaning.
That's probably what we're going to do. I mean, I've talked about it. We've had meetings about it. I feel like that's what we're going to do.
Well, that's one thing that Kim and I appreciate, how important it is to give back to the community. Not just the paranormal, air quote that, community, but the community. So everybody, because we're just as important as part as the Masons or any other group.
And who else?
I totally agree.
I mean, out of all the other organizations, out of all the other fields in the country, who is best suited to go spend an entire day in a cemetery other than us?
That's true. I agree.
Well, I'm going to take, the family back there. We had a period of a lot of rain right after that. So, and then it was very cold. So now the weather's starting to get a little better. And so we're going to go back there. And I want to go back and see her. Her name is Minnie Brown. Same last name as mine, so I kept telling her we had to be related. But, for about 15 days after, when I would do ceremony with, like with my flute, my Native American flute, I would put on my Ovilus or my radar, ghost radar. I would have like 7 or 8 ghosts detected on there.
Mm-hmm.
Just made me feel like they were letting me know that I was part of their group. I felt so protected. I felt very cared for. I didn't feel like I was being stalked. I felt wonderful.
I have a tendency to pick up kids, and I'm the biggest play baby I know, so.
Yeah. It was nice.
Yeah. It was one of
my favorite moments. 'Cause, I mean, I was 15 years old. 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 it was quite a shock for me to go down in that grave. I'm not exactly sure what I was thinking, but at the moment I just wanted to get down in there and talk to her. And the only way to get down in there was to get on her level and let her know that I wasn't too proud to get down there and talk to her.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, that's important. To be able to speak to them on their level and how they'll understand you, that's how the communication starts.
Yep.
Have you ever had something really funny happen?
On an investigation?
Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't personally there, but I've got to hear it a whole bunch.
Yeah, there was that.
What's happened to you guys?
We were on an investigation, and one of the people who was with us claimed to be gluten intolerant, and and went to a Chinese buffet a couple hours before the investigation. So we listened to her body sing for 5 hours.
It was kind of like whale song.
Yeah, well, the one part of that whale song.
Yeah.
Let's just say
Lord.
no. Three of us are on one side of the hall. Two are sitting on the other side of the hall. The gluten-free person was in the middle of the three. I was on one side. She was another friend of ours was on the other side. The one in the middle stood up, faced me, and then passed wind. Which makes her backside face level with the girl behind her now.
Yeah, well, and the nickname of the EVP is called the Trumpet. That ought to tell you.
And then she said, "Oh, stomach." And the person, right, well, the person across the hall impolitely said, "It's your ass, call it what it is." And it was 5 women, so we just fell out in the middle of the hallway and started busting up. We couldn't help ourselves anymore.
I was with that group for about 3 hours, and I had all the that I could handle.
And it wasn't us; it was all her.
Yeah.
Never eat sticky rice before an investigation if you're gluten intolerant.
Yeah. The Trumpet.
Well, it's funny that bodily functions like that is so. I mean, in situations like that are so funny. I mean, if you're in church, in a wedding, when you're supposed to be quiet in a situation like that, that's when it's the funniest.
Well, it wouldn't have been funny except for we had listened to like 4 hours of her stomach and her burping and everything else. And it was so annoying. And when she stood up, I think it was more the look on Cynthia's face, who happened to be face level with her backside when she did it.
Oh, dear God.
Yeah, poor Cynthia. But that's what made us laugh. That and her being told to call it what it is. It's not your stomach at this point.
They had shoved almost an entire roll of Tums down this woman's throat. I think they were fixing to start trying to shove it up the other end to see if it had quit.
No, we were fixing.
I think they would plug it.
We were fixing to put a mattress down her throat because it was oh God.
I mean, in a situation like that, if you happened for whatever reason to be that way, you excuse yourself. She did. Seriously,
okay, 15, 20 minutes, and my stomach is a trigger. If something gets too close, my stomach will start making noises. But it's in and out. It's not continuous for hours. So, I mean, all voice recordings were just trash. Yeah. We had 5 hours of trash is what we had.
Yeah, because you could have had.
She just get up and leave so that everybody else could get.
She wouldn't.
And then she was insulted the next night when we took off without her.
Which goes back to what you were saying at the very start of the interview about how greedy and me.
But I must say it was a large event. It wasn't like a team thing to where we just left her sitting there completely alone. There were like 15 other people in the building she could have gone out with, but she was insulted that we didn't take her, and that wasn't happening again.
So.
Yeah, I mean, get up, excuse yourself, There's other things you can do. Go take pictures. You know, geez. Okay, well, my daughter and I were doing an investigation on a private home, and it was actually on a piece of land that had been a slave quarters before. And this home was family property, and they had torn down the original homestead and built several homes, almost like a family, I'm not sure what to call it. You know, like this house, this house, this house, and everybody was living, you know, around. So anyway, the lady was saying that she just felt like somebody was always there, and she kept hearing a woman's voice, and she just felt like she was haunted. So anyway, they were all talking, and I was like, okay, you're going to have to be quiet now. We're going to do an EVP session. If you hear anything, take pictures, you're going to have to tag. And so she had really thick shag carpet. And my daughter was walking along, and she popped her ankle. And she had been drinking a little bit of soda, and she had like a little gurgle in her throat. And she was trying to tag. I popped my ankle. And when we went back to review, we heard Ipali Iku instead of I popped my ankle. Yeah. And, you know, we were trying so hard to really do all this, you know, listening and trying to solve this for our, you know, our client. And my daughter, bless her, she was in the middle of testing and marching band and everything. And we had gone 3 days trying to figure out what Ipali Iku means. Obviously, this means something. Come to find out, it's Swahili. That means, because I had just said, how long have you known the family? And here comes this thing. And in Swahili, it means since before the father. And luckily, my daughter came in the room and said, Mom, it's, you know, me. I said, I popped my ankle. That's when I had that little gurgle in my throat. Now, what if I had presented that?
Yeah.
That could have been perfect evidence. It would have been another language. Nobody would have known the difference. Would never known. That's why you have to have honest people on your team that's willing to pitch in and tell the truth, regardless of their age or whatever else. You know, she was 15. She could have kept her mouth shut after we worked 3 days on it.
Well, you know as well as we do that this field it pays so well.
Oh, yeah.
There's so much money involved in the paranormal.
Yeah, and all the equipment is so cheap.
Yeah, it's bargain basement.
I need higher boots.
Tell me about it. But, you know, really all you have is your integrity and your word. That's really all you have in this field.
Yep.
You know?
And I have Mary and Maureen.
Well, yeah, there's always that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I'm just saying, once you sacrifice or compromise either one of those two things, you know, nobody will ever know or be able to trust, or, you know, that it's such a fine line that you have to walk when you do this.
Well, it's like that in my life, period.
If
my
what
husband
other people
walks that way, period.
Yeah. If you care what other people think. See, that's the big kicker I like to throw in there, because I have a very small group of people that I care what they think. Everybody else, no other way to say this, everybody else can pretty much just kiss my butt, because I don't care what you think. I'm not going to ask you what you think.
Well, I feel what you're saying there, and I totally agree on that. However, I'm old-fashioned Southern. So is my husband. And it's one of those things where my honor is my word. And my honor means more to me than most people's lives mean to them. Mm-hmm. So for somebody to challenge my honor, those are fighting words.
Right.
And so I go beyond the call of duty. And if it means just backing off completely or going the extra mile, you know, or I'm not exactly sure how to phrase this, but
Well, what I'm saying is,
I would be willing to go a much further distance than most people to defend my honor and my family's honor than most people would. I'm not saying that you. I'm just saying.
No. I know. I'm just saying there's a fine line that you really, really have to walk.
Totally.
You know.
Okay, I'm going to tell you the funny story. Okay.
Okay.
My little boy was doing an investigation at another orphanage that is actually a bed and breakfast now. It's called Henderson Bed and Breakfast. If you go to my website, which is www.paranormalpros.com, and see the children's investigation, he was trying to talk to a little girl named Gina. Kevin DeMaria was actually helping me with that because we couldn't really get the child to talk to us. We knew she was there. She was trying to communicate with us, and once Kevin told me her name, she came straight through, and she was attached to the hip with my son, and because she was about the same age as my son, and then she was able to speak to us through her ovulus. I'm not exactly sure. I guess it just broke the ice, so to speak, and so anyway, her little girl's name was Gina, and she said that she died due to a nail that she was cut. So I'm assuming that it's tetanus.
Yeah.
And it was the orphanage was for underprivileged children or children that were a little slow. And but anyway, she was she. I kept the K2 meter on my son, and I would run it over him, you know, like that. And she was trying to hold his hand. And finally, it was right here at his mouth. She was trying to give him a kiss. And he was so embarrassed. He said, "Oh, God, I haven't even had a real kiss, and I'm getting my first kiss by a ghost girl." He was so embarrassed, and I wanted to sit down and laugh so hard, and I was, you know, trying to just, I didn't want to embarrass him really bad, you know. It was so sweet.
Some good EVPs and pictures to show on his first date.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you thought you were his first?
You heard that first. Gina got his kisses first. It was so cute. And he was like, "Okay, it's over. It's over." And I was like, "No, it's not. Look." And the K2 meter was boom. He was like, "Okay, you can stop now." It was funny. It was so cute.
Well, Latrina, I hate to do this, but we've already run over.
Oh my goodness! Already, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're
so
fine.
much fun.
But I do have some stuff going on the radio show, and I do have to book. People can find you at paranormalpros.com.
Yes, paranormalpros.com.
And look.
And you'll also see any of our scheduling if I'm on any other shows.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I believe Family Spirit will be on another network to be announced.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking forward to that. Flying out to Los Angeles December 4th to film my ghost story.
Mm-hmm.
And that will be shown in January.
Cool.
And I'll let you know when the book is finished.
Please do.
About my grandmother. And I'll have another one coming out as well. It's about the horrible haunting that my husband lived through at the house that was on the road to Savannah that he lived in. And that's actually how we met. So I'll tell you more about that later. Maybe I can come back and tell you about it.
Sure.
But the video for that is also on my website.
Okay, folks. Fixing to Kim. I know Kim wants to let everybody know.
Yes. Monday on Just Saying. 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Our special guest is Susan, who will be calling in and discussing pets and the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
And next Friday will be Mr. Dan Clay from the Graveyard Stalker.
And please, on Thursday of this week, tune in every night of the week. We got great live shows every night of the week. But this Thursday on Yakking with the Yeti, which is right after the premiere of The Slab here on PEN, Michael Esposito.
2010's Scarefest Best Hugger of the Year.
That's right.
Let me say one more thing, please.
Rock on.
I would like to ask our listeners to please pray for my sister-in-law, Ludovina, who is in stage 2 cancer. So I would like to ask for everyone to pray for her and send out all healing, blessings that you can. Also, I spoke with John Zaffis. I've talked with Julie as well. And I know you mentioned Lorraine. I'd like to also just bring that up again. She's doing well. She should be coming home soon, but not just yet. So just keep her in your thoughts and prayers. She's doing well.
Well, Lorraine is, as far as I'm concerned, the queen of paranormal,
Yes, she is.
and she deserves
Absolutely.
all the kudos of royalty.
Absolutely.
She's my sweetheart, and they both, John and Julie, both have done so many wonderful things for me. And I don't know Lorraine, but she knows we're all praying for her, and it means a lot. And I told her about the show through John and Jules, so maybe she's watching.
Yeah. Well, with that, everybody, if you go out and investigate this weekend, be safe. Like I said, tune in every night of the week here to PEN.
And being in Texas right now, we need to ski-daddle.
Y'all.
Have
Y'all.
a great night.
Shadow on the wall that looks like a man. Well, no, that lamp just moved on that stand. I got movement in the cellars, I got footsteps in the hall. There's no time to waste, I better make some calls. I gotta get ready, make everything right, 'cause all my rowdy friends are goes hunting tonight. Hey, round up the team, let's get started. Hey, this is Brother Mine. There's a party and you're invited. We got the camera set, let's turn off these lights, 'cause all my rowdy friends are goes hunting tonight.
You are part of actually 2 different paranormal groups, am I correct?
That is correct.
Part of PROS, which is Paranormal Research of the Southeast, and
That's right.
part of Family Spirit, and I can only assume that Family Spirit consists of you and your family members.
That's right.
Okay.
It actually existed first. My great-grandmother was a paranormal investigator, and she passed it down through the generations. Her workbook included basically her Bible and what she was taught through the generations, being a Native American. And she had a few notebooks, but mostly just her Bible, and she wrote in her Bible. And I have all of her notes. And so I'm working with my mother and my grandmother. We're writing a book about her and some of the stories and case studies that she actually left us. And we're trying to go through all of hers. My grandmother, who lives with me, she's 87 and still does investigations. And she is the bomb. She's an amazing lady. She suffered a heart attack not long ago, but she has no damage to her heart.
Awesome.
She went back to work recently, and as beautiful as ever. And when I grow up, I want to be just like her.
Well, what actually is it? Was it just the family influence that got you started?
Yeah. Well, I think that I should say the fact that I can see spirits, and I do have energy sight, is what I call it, as well as a certain amount of hearing. And my grandmother and my mother.
Now this old house has a long history. It should be real, real good for activity. And we got the house wired for sound and got motion alarms setting all around. Got a box full of batteries ready to go, and everyone's itching to start this show. Got our logo tees, driving black SUVs, and that one bald guy with a slick goatee. Hey, round up the team. Let's get started. Hey, this is Brother Mike. Well, there's a party and you're invited. We got the camera set. Let's turn off these lights, 'cause all my rowdy friends are goes hunting tonight. Hey, round up the team. Let's get started. Hey, this is your big brother Michael. There's a party and you're invited. We got the camera set. Let's turn off these lights, 'cause all my rider friends are goes hunting tonight. That's right. Go get 'em, boys.
And welcome everybody to PEMA TV.
Welcome to November 30th, 2012. 1 month left. One month and 1 day.
That's right. And we've actually only got like 22 days.
Yeah.
Till Mayageddon. Please click on the banner below. Go buy your tickets. Gonna be a party.
I'm going shopping.
Yeah. And then when we wake up Friday, it'll all be okay. Just hungover. Lots of new shows, lots of schedule changes happening. I've tried to post it as much all over Facebook as I can. I spam enough on Facebook now to where I'm almost hated. So I try not to do too much, but we do have some major schedule changes. We have basically 4 new shows coming, because 2 of our shows are changing their formats and going from being all pre-recorded to being live.
Okay, that's 5.
Yeah. Torch Paranormal out here in Texas near the Colony. They're going to go start on Sunday nights in a week or so. You've got Paranormal Minds coming on Tuesday. Tim Rancorn is moving to Tuesday and going to a live version of this show. The Slab with Randy Ivy and Tenor Tins. They will be coming Thursday. This coming Thursday. It's going to be a lot of stuff going on. Just be sure and check the schedule on Facebook. If you want to be a stalker, practice your skills on us here at the network. Click on all the social media buttons there below the chat room.
And be sure to watch the Mistresses of Mondays.
And the Mistresses of Mondays, they rock. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Okay, folks. Tonight, we have a very special guest.
But first, we need to put a few things out there. Please continue to send prayers to Tim Yancey, who's still in the hospital, and to Lorraine Warren.
And prayers and good wishes to the Harris family with their dealing with their loss of Sarah. Me and Mr. Stephen LaChance talked about that a little bit last night. We can't stress how important it is for everybody to be careful when you're investigating.
Yeah. But hang in there. Things are getting crazy. Just because the holidays are coming up doesn't mean we're not going to be here. We've still got stuff going on constantly and continuously. So check the schedules, check the nights, check the Mistresses of Monday.
And be looking for the Lower Catskill Paracon. That'll be coming your way
soon.
That's all I'm saying about that. That's just all I'm saying.
That's all we're going to give you right now. It's a teaser.
Okay, folks. Tonight we are joined by a very good friend of ours, Miss Latrina Brown. Latrina, are you with us?
I'm here. And please call me Lee. My name is too much work. Just call me Lee.
Okay, Lee.
And so, you know, dealing with the gifts that have run in my family for generations, and my children have them as well, I guess it was just a way of learning to deal with what the Lord, you know, how the Lord, you know, made us. And so in a way it was just how we were created.
Right.
And then we decided to just go ahead and become a group. People started getting more interested in the paranormal. There were more shows. Things started coming more in the open. My grandmother was called every time something odd happened, you know, and my great-grandmother. My mother was called as a child to pray for people when they were sick. She has the ability to do a lot of healing prayers. And so, you know, there's a lot of teaching going on in the household. And so we decided to put it all together, and then people started coming to us when we started doing investigation. I sort of came out about it, and more people wanted to learn. And I thought, my goodness, it's about time. You know, we started opening the doors, and we have really blossomed lately. I've got 3 satellite groups in 3 different states. So we're really enjoying ourselves.
Well, I don't think you'll mind people knowing this. You're located in South Carolina.
Right. That's right.
Once again, I happened to interview Stephen LaChance, who lives in Myrtle Beach now. And
right.
Like he was saying, like you are lucky enough to be surrounded by literally hundreds, if not thousands, of historic locations now.
Oh gosh, everywhere we go. I went to a conference in Myrtle Beach, and the hotel was haunted.
Yeah.
So while I was doing the conference, I was in my room doing investigations after the conference. You know, going through the hotel. You know, I didn't know when to sleep because, you know, I was either doing an investigation, go downstairs.